Hey guys, Dan and Mariah here. We're excited to share with you something that we did before dating that shocked everyone.
It shocked everyone, and it even shocked us a little bit.
I am still shocked. I'm currently shocked. Basically, when Mariah and I were starting to see each other, we had just recently, within the last year, both come out of longer term relationships. We both weren't looking for relationships. We met each other, really liked each other, but we wanted to really honor God, each other, and also our stage of life. If we were to date.
Yeah.
So we did this one thing.
One crazy
I feel like
thing.
that classic YouTuber that's always letting people wait in suspense.
Yeah. So
We
just
did this
wait
one
a little
thing.
longer. This one thing that changed
That
our
will
lives
change
forever.
your life forever.
Okay, so basically, Daniel came to me one day and he was like, "Hey, what if we took a break from talking to each other for 2 months?
Yeah.
Not a break and seeing each other. So not a break from the relationship, but a break.
How did you feel?
A break from communication.
How did you feel? Tell me the truth. Tell our friends out there the truth. How you actually felt when I approached you with this outrageous idea.
I was like, "No, good buddy. I'm trying to date you right now. I've been telling you this since I met you."
Yeah, and in my thinking...
But I warmed up to it.
In my thinking, so it was the idea is that it'd be a 2-month kind of reprieve, not a break from the relationship. I wasn't saying oh, I'm having too much of you. It was more saying I just respect you and see what we could be so much that I wanted take some time to step away a bit for 3 reasons. Mainly, I felt at least that during that 2 months, processing would take place. I would say prayer took place, and I would also say preparation took place. And I felt like having some space separate from each other in a way that's a bit more objective, where we're not always being wooed by the other person or wrapped up in emotional kind of dates and I don't know, just fun, the fun that comes with a relationship would really help us make decisions in a way that's a bit more clear.
Yeah,
I guess.
so it wasn't a break because we were concerned about our relationship starting. It was more a break to be more serious about each other.
Yeah.
And it shocked a lot of people. It was really hard to explain to our friends and family. Some people were, I feel suspicious about us.
About just the concept.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes
what
people...
What is Daniel doing?
Yeah, I think even not that people thought this, but
Yeah.
I guess I would imagine if someone wanted to take 2 months just to process, I'd be like, hey, are they trying to date around or something like that? Is there a reason that they want 2 months? Did they not fully resolve the relationship that they're in before?
Yeah.
Those questions would come into my mind. But to be honest, I was starting ministry. I'm a one of the things I do is I'm a pastor, and I was just starting my first job. I was starting an internship program for young adults, and I just felt like I needed time, space to really think and process, pray, and prepare for our impending relationship.
And we very much so made this decision together. I joked that I didn't love the idea at first, and that was true. I was like, what? No, I don't want to not talk to you for 2 months. I didn't love you yet probably, but I loved spending time with you, and I loved being with you and talking to you, and so the thought of not having that was hard, but I did come to the place where I was like, you know what? I think this is the best for us and the future of our relationship. And honestly, now we've been married for almost 4 years, and I feel like we're still reaping the benefits of that 2 months.
It's true. And we both were living life so fast paced. She was working, she was serving late at night.
She was going to school.
You were in school, highly involved with her church. I was in school, working, a couple jobs, doing all these different things that if we didn't give ourselves that time, we would never have had that time. And I figured if she's truly the one, we have...
What's 2 months?
We have a lifetime together.
Yeah.
And in light of that lifetime, 2 months is nothing.
Yeah.
So
the hope was that after the 2 months, we would start officially dating.
Yeah, and we did.
And we did.
That's a spoiler, but we did.
We did, and then we got married, and here we are now. So let's chat about the first reason we wanted to do this 2 months was to process.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll speak to it a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like that 2 months gave me a lot of just incredible time to process not just our relationship and my thoughts about our relationship and if I truly felt like we were good for each other or not, but also processing a past relationship. I had been pretty far out of that relationship, like I think a year out by the time that I met you. But in that 2 months, I really gave myself space to just like complete any healing that I needed in that time. And it was really special. I felt like God spoke to me and healed me in so many special ways in that 2 months that I just wouldn't, or I could have had maybe, but it was more accessible because I wasn't so focused on you all the time, but I was really making that space to process my past relationships, but also to process my new relationship that was coming with you.
Yeah, and I found the kind of processing reason of this 2 months really helpful because I got to have conversations with like friends and mentors. I got to weigh out different things about a relationship. If you were to do something like this would be a good time. If there's any yellow, green, red flags to be able to process that through. There was no red flags from Mariah.
Some yellow.
Barely any yellow.
Just kidding. What?
Barely any yellow.
There was some yellow.
There was tons of yellow for me. But this is a good time.
There's always a bit of yellow.
There's always a bit of yellow. If you're dating someone and there's not a bit of yellow, that's concerning.
That's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
If you're dating someone and they're fully a green flag, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag. That is a red flag. We've never talked about this before, but it's so true.
Like, it's so true.
If they're a bit too perfect, it's like there's something you're hiding.
Their imperfections are gonna come out at one point.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they're hiding them that well, they're probably pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We should like start a new movement that says yellow light is a green light.
That's true, but I mean, it's really,
and a green light is a red light.
It's really nuanced. Like you can't. Really
it's very.
you can't take.
I'm just more saying that's a good catchphrase.
Yeah.
It catches the eye. Anyways, so processing through with mentors, friends, and really stepping back and being like, who is this person? Who am I? Where do I feel like my life trajectory is going? Where's their life trajectory going? And like objectively asking yourself, do our life trajectories align in a way that's honoring to God and then also honoring to their gifts and my gifts? So I was prepared to say, like, to be honest, Mariah, you're like out of my league, and the direction that you're going in is just like either too fast or too clear or too high for me to be able to even able to shoot towards with you. And she was prepared to do the same. And we would always ask each other, like, okay, are we sure that this is the life that we want to do? Because we knew that life together would mean dreaming big and sacrificing big and living life in a way that is generous to people. And so we really wanted to spend time processing and making sure that it was the right thing.
Yeah.
Second thing.
The second thing was pray.
Yeah.
So this 2 months gave us a lot of time to pray specifically about our relationship.
Yeah.
And to ask God what he thought of it, removed from the person.
Yeah.
So I found it really difficult to truly pray to God with open hands about a relationship when you're like right in it with that person. But because we gave each other a little bit of space, I was able to come to a spot where I was like, God, if you truly don't think this is the best person for me, I'm willing to give this up. And oh man, that was hard to get there. Yeah. That was really hard to get there for me because I saw Daniel as the perfect person for me. Like even when I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, this type of guy exists. Like this is amazing. And
I'm blushing right now. You can't tell, but I'm blushing.
And so to get to a place where I truly felt, okay, God, if you want to say no, just tell me that.
Yeah.
And I am willing to be obedient to you in that. And thankfully he didn't.
Yeah.
But it was a really important and significant time in my relationship with God where I was willing to give up almost the most important thing to me at that time.
Yeah, and the same went for me. Like, this was a period where I picked up journaling. I'm really hit or miss with journaling, depending on the season of life. But this was a season of life where I was like journaling a lot and asking God, this is the right person. Like, make it clear to her and make it clear to me.
Yeah.
Because I was so done with like wasting time with people and myself. I wanted to make sure that it was the right decision for both of us.
Yeah.
I invited like trusted mentors, family members, friends into the process of praying and really helping me discern whether it's the right direction to go. And we should also talk about, before we go on to the third thing, how we design the 2 months with the break in the middle. Do you want to explain that? Yeah.
So when we were talking about doing this 2 months, I suggested having a break halfway through in which we would just FaceTime each other and make sure we were on the same page. Because I was like, I don't want to be wondering the whole 2 months, like, what if in the first week you felt like, oh, this isn't right for me, and then you're waiting the whole 2 months to tell me, like, I'd rather know sooner than later.
It was more from my heart, because I felt really fragile, and I didn't want to, like, commit to this process of praying, processing, and preparing for a whole nother month, knowing that in her mind I was already dumped.
Yeah.
So I said, at the end of this month, can we just connect for, like, literally, I think it was like 15 to 20 minutes, where we connected. Yeah. And we said, hey, like, are you still into this? Are you still into this? And it was like the most nerve-wracking thing.
Oh my gosh,
because I put myself out
remember.
there, and I'm like, so where are you at?
I remember I woke up early because I was just so nervous / excited to talk to you, and I was like, I'm sure he's still on the same page, but I don't know. And then I feel like you didn't text me for a bit. I'm like, I don't want to text him first. And then finally we connected in the morning and we FaceTimed, and I was so nervous, and you were like, Mariah, and I was like, oh.
And me not texting her, by the way, wasn't like a flex.
No,
you know how
no,
sometimes
no.
I was just like in the middle of stuff. Again, I was busy with...
I was thinking about it way more.
But I was like, on my mind, that was the only thing I could think about. But I had to get to a couple things that I was working on that day.
So in the 1 month, halfway through the 2 months...
So say it's like June and July. It was like at the end of June, for example. We connected before July started.
Yeah. And it was really good. We were both on the same page. And then we're like, okay, talk to you in another month. Yeah. And it was good because I remember feeling, because when Daniel first brought up 2 months, I was like, why 2 months? Like, that is so long. And he was like, because it's a challenge. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, but it's funny because after the first month, I really felt, okay, I need the second month. Yeah. And that was really cool.
And just so people know, it's just not a formula. Like, for me, it felt like 1 month is pretty manageable, like 4 weeks. Yeah. And 2 months felt like, okay, this is like a real challenge.
Another layer is that we were long distance.
Yeah, and we were doing long distance relationship. Yeah.
So we only really saw each other twice a month, anyways.
Yeah.
So it could be totally different for people who live in the same city or town.
And I remember getting the idea for this when I was praying about Mariah and our relationship, and 2 months for some reason just jumped in my mind, and I just it was pretty easy to rationalize from there. But yeah, we're glad we did it. So let's just talk quickly about the third kind of reason for that 2 month process. To prepare.
The 2 months really helped us to prepare for a relationship that we thought would turn into marriage. We were really serious about each other, and that's why we did the first 2 months in the first place. And so it helped us prepare in a lot of different ways. Spiritually, that was a big part of it. So really ensuring our relationships with God were close, and that we were having spiritual disciplines in our life, like prayer and reading scripture and stuff like that. Another way I would say is just in kind of removing like selfishness from our lives. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people assume that the best way to prepare for marriage is moving out of their family home or moving out on their own, spending a year where they're living by themselves before marriage. But one thing that I did was I actually had my brother, who was younger than me and lives across the country. He moved in with me because a part of the reason, like for him, was because he wanted to spend his last year of high school out in BC with me. And he lived with me, and I loved embracing that year or 2 years with him, because I got to really learn again about being selfless, sacrificing for one another, actually shifting my schedule around and my rhythms around to accommodate the needs of another, cleaning up after another person, or allowing someone to like just working together with someone in relationship. So I think that like the same goes for you, right? Like living with a family. You come from a big family. I think sometimes people will automatically think the best way to prepare for marriage is actually living on your own. But the best way to prepare for marriage, in our opinion, is actually living in community with other people, whether it be family or friends or roommates, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that was super helpful. To be able to learn, like I lived in a house with 8 people. I have 5 siblings, 2 parents, and so it gets hectic and it gets frustrating and it gets chaotic, but learning how to stay calm in those situations, how to respect people in those situations. And I wasn't always perfect in that, but I feel like it really helped me prepare for marriage.
And another facet of the preparation for me was a lot of introspective work. Like I think it's so important before you like pursue another level deeper into a relationship is to really confront your shadow side. Like all of us have parts of ourselves that are negative that we never really get to interact with head on because only other people see them or because they're less priority or whatever it is. So I took the time to ask people that I was doing relationship with, hey, what am I doing well? What am I maybe not doing so well? Do I have any tendencies that could be kind of poisonous or toxic for a relationship? Is there anything that I can be improving upon? We took time to like reflect on the things that we did well or not so well in our previous relationships, and we tried to take those 2 months to really work towards setting goals that would help us to improve in those areas as well. So working on your shadow side is a huge facet to preparing for a marriage.
Because in marriage, your shadow side becomes real obvious. So it's good
not
for you to know about it.
Not so shadowy.
And I think all of us will always have a shadow side, but it's whether we know about it or not. And you don't want to be surprised by it in marriage. So if you can really expose that in yourself before committing to someone like that, it can be so helpful in the way you deal with things together when you're married.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for this conversation. Again, the conversation's not done, but it continues in the comments. The best dialogue isn't what happens here, but what happens in the community below. Remember to like and subscribe, and we are so happy to see you. We're believing in you, and be blessed as you go.
We'll see you next week.